I've made, that's okay, because Michelle doesn't either. You may be frustrated sometimes at the pace of change. I promise you, so am I. But you know that I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. I said I'd end the war in Iraq, I ended it. I said I'd repeal, don't ask, don't tell, I repealed it. I said we passed healthcare reform, we passed it. I said we saved an auto industry, we saved it. I do what I say. You know what I believe. You know where I stand. You know I tell the truth. And you know I will fight for you and your family every single day as long as I know how. Real change looks like because you see me fight for it. I've got the scars to prove it. I've got the gray hair to prove it. And you've had my back in that fight. And after all we've been through together, we can't give up on it now. We've got World War III. We know what changed we're going to be delivering over the next 4 years. A country where every American has a shot at a great education. You know, let me tell you, government can't do it all. Parents have to parent, students you have to study, but don't tell me hiring more teachers will not help this economy grow. It will. Don't tell me students who can't afford college should just borrow money from their parents. So our young people aren't burdened with debt. I want to recruit 100,000 math and science teachers so our kids don't fall behind. I want to train 2 million Americans at our community colleges with the skills that businesses are looking for right now. That's what real change is. That's what's at stake in this election. That's what we're fighting for. Change comes when we live up to this country's legacy of innovation. You know, I'm proud we saved the auto industry, but I'm even prouder that we're making better cars now than our industry. By the middle of the next decade, American cars will be going twice as far on a gallon of gas. That'll save you money. It will help the environment. It will help cut our oil imports. And we can't just stop at oil. We can't just stop at cars. You know, we've got thousands of workers here in Ohio across the country building long-lasting batteries, building wind turbines. I don't want to subsidize oil company profits. I want to support new energy, the energy of tomorrow. I don't want a tax code that rewards companies for creating jobs overseas. I want to fight the shared ground to make sure that we are delivering those tax breaks to companies that are investing right here in Ohio, right here in the United States, hiring American workers. That's what we're fighting for. That's the future I see in this country. Change is turning the page on a decade of war so we can do some nation building here at home. And as long as I'm Commander-in-Chief, I will pursue our enemies with the strongest military the world's ever known. But it's time to use the savings from ending the war in Iraq, from transitioning out of Afghanistan to pay down our debt. Rebuild America, put people back to work, repairing roads, making our schools state-of-the-art, hiring our veterans, because if you fought for this country, you should have to fight for your job. That's my commitment. at stake in this election. Change the future where we have to reduce our deficit, but do it in a balanced way. Not sign $1 trillion worth of spending cuts. I intend to do more, but if we're serious about reducing the deficit, we've got to ask the wealthiest Americans to go back to the tax rates they paid when Bill Clinton was in office. Because, listen, our budget is about priorities, it's about values. And I'm not going to kick some kid off a Head Start so I can get a tax break. I'm not going to turn Medicare into a voucher just to pay for another millionaire's tax cut. That's not who we are. We know what real change is. We know what the future requires. And we also know it won't be easy. And that's because, when I talked about change back in 2008, I wasn't just talking about changing presidents or changing parties. I was talking about changing our politics. I ran because the voices of the American people, your voices have been shut out of our democracy for way too long by lobbyists and special interests and politicians who will say anything and do anything to protect things just the way they are. Over the last 4 years, the status quo in Washington has fought us every step of the way. Spent millions to try to stop us from reforming health care. Spent millions trying to stop us from reforming Wall Street. They engineered a strategy of gridlock in Congress, refusing to compromise on ideas that it used to be Democrats and Republicans supported in the past. And what they're counting on now is you're going to be so fed up, so worn down by all the arguing, so tired of all the dysfunction, that you'll just give up. You'll walk away. You'll let them go ahead and make all the decisions. In other words, their bet's on cynicism. While my bet's on you. My hope is with you. My fight is for you. And that is not a partisan statement. When the other parties have been willing to work with me to help middle-class families and working families, I love to work with them. They helped cut middle-class taxes and small business taxes. We came together. We had Republicans who helped us repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I respect that. I will work with anybody of any party to move this country forward. And if you want to end the gridlock in Congress, you'll go to the leaders like Sharon Brown, who will put Americans first, not elections first. But you know what we can do is give up on our principles. There's some things that we do have to fight for. There's some things that we've got to fight for. We've got to make sure that, if the price of peace in Washington is cutting deals that are going to kick students off of financial aid, get rid of funding for Planned Parenthood, let insurance companies discriminate against people with pre-existing conditions, eliminate health care for millions on Medicaid who are poor or elderly or disabled, that's not a price I'm willing to pay. That's not bipartisanship. That is not change. That's surrender to the same status quo that's hurt middle-class families for way too long. In Ohio, I'm not ready to give up on the fight.